Good morning. Good morning, ma'am, Nati. Good morning, classmates. And my name is Clavel Ann D. Villaver. We're supposed to report today regarding other education and teacher-related laws. However, Ma'am Nati is not around today. She's sick. Get well soon, ma'am. And I decided to record my voice and the monitor as well, my PowerPoint, which I have prepared. So I can send it to you guys in Messenger, or probably I can upload this in YouTube and I can send the link, and somehow I'll be able to, to submit and fulfill the supposed reporting today. So that's it. I will report to you the 1987 Constitution of the Philippines, Article 14. So guys, XIV is 14. I have searched it in Google. I will be discussing sections 1 to 7, and the rest of the sections will be discussed by my colleagues. So let's start. The 1987 Constitution of the Philippines, Article 14, focuses on education, science and technology, arts, culture, and sports. So let's start with the education. Section 1, it says, the state shall protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality education at all levels, and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all. So, we all know that we have a lot of public schools, daycares all over the Philippines, and even to the remote areas here in the Philippines, we have those schools which is provided by our government. All right, let's move to the next slide. Section 2, the state shall, these are the obligation of our state. So first, establish, maintain, and support a complete, adequate, and integrated system of education relevant to the needs of the people and society. So, again, we have schools available for every communities in the Philippines, and it says integrated system of education. So, we all know that in the curriculum that we have right now with the Department of Education, it incorporates learnings which are practical as well, which the students or children needs to know, which this could they could apply these on their everyday functions in the society. Number 2, establish and maintain a system of free public education in the elementary and high school levels without limiting the natural right of parents to rear their children. Elementary education is compulsory for all children of school age. So we all know that we have the public schools all over the Philippines, and ideally wala man na siya bayad. Actually wala man siya bayad in public schools, and there's no discrimination of the age regardless of how old the children are. If probably you're already in your teens and you weren't able to complete elementary, I mean the schools will really accept you still. So in ana siya, it's not discriminatory. So let's move to the next one. The state shall establish and maintain a system of scholarship grants, student loan programs, subsidies, and other incentives which shall be available to deserving students in both public and private schools, especially to the unprivileged. So we all know that if we're about to graduate elementary, right, there are some schools who offer scholarships, like the Philippine Science schools, and there are other schools as well. And let's say we're reaching high school, before the graduations, we can take examinations with state universities like University of the Philippines, or in Obrero, there's a school in Obrero that's a state university as well. So it's available all over the Philippines. Even the government offers scholarship grants to those deserving students. Next, number 4, encourage non-formal, informal, and indigenous learning systems, as well as self-learning, independent, and out-of-school study programs, particularly those that respond to community needs. I think this is like a collaboration between Department of Education and the Social Welfare. I'm a bit aware that the Social Department of Social Works, they offer learnings to the communities, like out of school youth, together with people in Department of Education. And I'm just not so sure whether the TESDA learnings is included in this category, but non-formal and informal learning is available for all. Section 2, number 5, provide adult citizens the disabled and out-of-school youth with training in civics, vocational efficiency, and other skills. Yeah, so this is what I was saying earlier. We have TESDA. TESDA offers classes and trainings focusing on skills. So actually, it's not limited right now. In reality, it's not just limited to the senior citizens and the disabled. Even if you're physically able, mentally able person, or physically able person, and you choose to learn other skills, we are welcome in TESDA, right? Next. Section number 3. Number 1, all educational institutions shall include the study of the Constitution as part of the curricula. So if you can actually remember, when we were in college, we have this subject, I don't know, but with me, when I took my college education, because I took business and administration during that time, so we have to study Philippine Constitution. That's 3 units. 3 units, yeah. Number 2, they shall inculcate patriotism and nationalism, foster love of humanity, respect for human rights, appreciation of the role of national heroes in the historical development of the country, teach the rights and duties of citizenship, strengthen ethical and spiritual values, develop moral character and personal discipline, encourage critical and creative thinking, broaden scientific and technological knowledge, and promote vocational efficiency. Taas-taas siya, guys. But of course, we all know na since we were young, tung bata pata, even elementary, until mag-high school, we were taught to respect the national flag. We were taught on actions that shows respect and patriotism, like we have to stop whenever we hear the singing of our national anthem. We have to salute, or we have to put our right hand on our left chest, show respect, right? And we already know that we studied in elementary and high school about the history of the Philippines, where we were once what do you call this? Under the Spanish era, and then the Japanese, and then American. So we basically know all of those things, right? It has been taught to us. Next. Section 3, number 3. At the option expressed in writing by the parents or guardians, religion shall be allowed to be taught to their children or wards in public elementary and high schools with the regular class hours by instructors designed or approved by the religious authorities of the region to which the children or wards belong, without additional cost to the government. Kung mahilumduman ninyo, guys, no? Excuse me. Hinumduman ninyo, we had religion classes, right? I actually used to study in a Christian school, a private Christian school, and we do these things, activities like prayer or going to masses every first week of the month, and we even if it is a Christian school, we have classmates who has different faith. We have Muslim classmates or Christian classmates. So they're, being invited to join us. However, if they refuse, their parents can write a letter, and they can just basically talk to the teacher and, say that they don't allow these things and they don't want their children to be attending on those activities. Then the school, the school always respects different religion. So, yeah. So, yun siya. Section 4, the state shall recognize the complementary roles of public and private institutions in the educational system and shall exercise reasonable supervision and regulation of all educational institutions. So, again, our government or the state should respect private institutions. So, we know that we have public and private schools. So, they have to respect the structures, the system of these schools. However, they should be supervising it. And we know for a fact that Department of Education, of course, is one department of the state which focuses on the education system of the Philippines. So, mao na siya ilahang role, guys. So, next, number 2, educational institution other than those established by religious groups and mission boards shall be owned solely by citizens of the Philippines or corporations or associations, at least 60% of the capital of which is allowed by such citizens. The Congress may, however, require increased Filipino equality participation in all educational institutions. So, klaro kayo siya, guys. All institutions or educational institutions should be and must be owned by Filipinos, or the majority owner should be a Filipino, or the members as well as Filipino. If it is a corporation, it has to be at least 60% of the capital owned by the Filipinos, right? Okay. Para na siya ma-sure, guys, na still it should be owned by a Filipino citizen, diba? Patriotic ba yata, guys? So let's go next. It says here, the control and administration of educational institutions shall be vested in citizens of the Philippines. So, ang control o pag-administer sa atong educational system kailangan Filipino. No educational institution shall be established exclusively for aliens, and no group of aliens shall comprise more than 1/3 of the enrollment in any school. The provisions of this subsection shall not apply to schools established for foreign diplomatic personnel and their dependents, and unless otherwise provided by law, for other foreign temporary residents. So, klaro kaayo siya din ha, classmates and ma'am. It says na dili pwede na ay school only for foreign students. Dapat it should be for Filipino students and Filipino nationality, and they can allow foreign students, but it should be below 1/3 of the allowed number of enrollees in the school or university. And diplomatic personnels, of course, they're actually not counted, and they can actually enroll. And also those there are foreign people who can get temporary residency in the Philippines, so that's allowed by our law, and they can study, they can enroll in schools in the Philippines as well. So next, section 4, number 3. All revenues and assets of non-stock, non-profit educational institutions used actually, directly, and exclusively for educational purposes shall be exempt from taxes and duties upon the dissolution or cessation of the corporate existence of such institutions. Their assets shall be disposed of in the manner provided by law. So, we got swerte ba sa mga schools? Anyhow, so I'll give an example, like okay, it says all revenue. So, lahat ng income ng isang school, if it is for educational purposes, so, free sila sa taxes, guys. And, hayahay. Okay. But if they will dissolve the school, or like it says here, dissolution, cessation of the corporate existence, kung ilahan na bungkago ng school and they want to dispose their assets, so basically they have to it should be disposed in a manner provided by law. So it means kung na ay mga taxes upon selling an equipment, something like that, subject na sila sa taxes, ana, guys. Next, property educational institutions, including those cooperative-owned, may likewise be entitled to such exemptions subject to limitations provided by law, including restrictions on dividends and provisions for reinvestments. Okay. So, exemptions po di ay sila, guys. I'll give an example, ha. Like Ateneo, they own the building, and then lower ground, there are some nag-rent sa ilahan ng mga diba, establishments like banks and then convenience stores. So basically they're earning from that. So exempted po di siya sa taxes, guys. Diba? Nice kaayo. Next, section 4. Number 4, subject to conditions prescribed by law, all grants, endowments, donations, or contributions used actually directly and exclusively for educational purposes shall be exempt from tax. Uy, exempted po sila sa tax, guys. Kanang mga donations, contributions. So, nice kaayo. Mag-doctorate na mo, guys, kaya para mag-put up mo school para exempted siya sa tax. No, I'm just kidding. Next, section number 5. Number 1, the state shall take into account regional and sectoral needs and conditions and shall encourage local planning in the development of educational policies and programs. So, naapot yung mga regional needs, mga sa eskwelahan, right? Like schools. I think I have mentioned this earlier na we know for a fact that it's difficult to go to those rural places. We know that the Philippines composed of thousands of islands, right? So, but our government has been doing its best to put up schools or to build schools in those areas. So they have to consider those places as well, because the kids at those areas need education, diba? So, mo na siya. Number 2, academic freedom shall be enjoyed in all institutions of higher learning. So, freedom of education. That's very much self-explanatory. Number 3, every citizen has a right to select profession or course of study subject to fair, reasonable, and equitable admission and academic requirements. So, we are free to choose our profession, right? If you can remember, pa mag-college ta, mamili ta kung unsa nga itong mga courses. However, kasi naa din siya nakabutang reasonable and equitable admission, right? If you remember, like University of the Philippines, if you take the examination and then let's example, I want to become a lawyer, and then they have this range of scores which you have to meet, or we have to meet, for you to be considered as one of those students who will study at sa kana siya na course. Pero if you do not meet, or you did not meet the minimum at least, so diba, we're not allowed to take that course, and they will give us other options na makadecide ta. It happens even in Ateneo, if you take an examination in gihapon. I think not all universities, I guess. So ana jud siya, guys. Anyhow, but still with this explanation, we are free to choose our profession or any course to study. Number 5, section 5, number 4, the state shall enhance the right of teachers to professional advancement. Non-teaching academic and non-academic personnel shall enjoy the protection of the state. So, ang teachers, diba, we have the right para ma-advance ang ato ang in the future pala. Let's say we become teachers, the government, and we have the right to seek advancement or magtaas ang level. We can study master's degree and even doctorate, so we're free to do that and study other fields if you want to. So right nato na siya, guys. And I think even there are schools who encourage their teachers to study masters or because I used to work in Ateneo in the HR in the past, and I know that they encourage some teachers, if they want to study abroad, or they want to study like 3-month courses or 6-month courses in the US, they will help out. So naay mga yung ana, so that's really good. Number 5, the state shall assign the highest budgetary priority to education and ensure that teaching will attract and retain its rightful share of the best available talents through adequate remuneration and other means of job satisfaction and fulfillment. So, self-explanatory sa ato ang law, pag sila og budget, kasi di ba ang president na sila President, Senate, and the House of Representatives mag budget meeting man na sila kung asa nila i-allot ang budget. So highest budget dapat priority kaysa education. Okay. Ug nice kaayo, guys, they have to make sure adequate remuneration sa teachers. So unta. Okay. Now, next is section 6, which covers language. So this is the start where focusing on language ni siya. So section 6 says the national language of the Philippines is Filipino. As it shall be further developed and enriched on the basis of existing Philippine and other languages. So ang atong official language, guys, Filipino, Tagalog. So subject to provisions of law and as the Congress may deem appropriate, the government shall take steps to initiate and sustain the use of Filipino as a medium of official communication and as language of instruction in the educational system. So Filipino ang atong official language, guys. And allowed siya. Okay. Section 7, the purpose of communication and instruction, the official language of the Philippines are Filipino and until otherwise provided by law, English. So reasonable sad na siya, guys. Kay if you actually notice, and I noticed, most of the books that we have, it's written in English. Mao dyan na siya. So anyways, Filipinos are more can actually comprehend English language and can speak English language well. So wala na siya problema. Now it can be incorporated with the Filipino language. Next, the regional languages are the auxiliary official languages in the regions and shall serve as auxiliary media of instruction therein. So, natay choice, pwede ta magbisaya, especially during the explanation time. And I think, reasonable. That's part of patriotism. We should be allowed to use our own language with pride, and that we will be able to express our thoughts properly. Kung magkuanta di dyan natupugson, kung maglisod ta, di ba? We have other ways, as long as the point and the substance of what we are trying to explain is there. That's very good na. Spanish and Arabic shall be promoted on a voluntary and optional basis. So, optional lang dyan na siya, guys, because unless na lang pareha dito sa Zamboanga. I think in Zamboanga, they can still speak broken Spanish. So, mao dyan na siya ang regional language nila. Arabic, for our Muslim brothers and sisters, they use Arabic. Yeah, so that's optional. Okay, thank you very much, guys, for listening to this audio video of my presentation. And good luck to everyone, and get well soon, ma'am. Thank you very much.